Welcome to the Wellness in a Chaotic World podcast. I'm your host, Cheryl Davis. Before we dive in, I wanted to note that as a health and wellness coach, I can support you in making sustainable lifestyle changes, tuning into your own wisdom, and building habits that align with your values and vision for your well being. I don't prescribe or treat health conditions, as I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional. Instead, I can walk alongside you as you create a healthier life on your terms. From time to time, I share conversations with guests. The views and opinions expressed by those guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect my views or those of anyone associated with wellness in a chaotic world. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and isn't a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always talk to your doctor or qualified mental health provider about any physical or mental health concerns. This is the Wellness in a Chaotic World podcast, a place where we're having conversations about what it really takes to live well in our unhealthy, chaotic world. I'm your host, Cheryl Davis. If you're beating yourself up over a bag of chips you ate in a stressed out frenzy, or you can't figure out how anyone manages to find the time to even think about wellness, you're in the right place. We talk about all of these things and more because, frankly, we don't talk to each other enough about what we're really up against every day. Let's change that right now. For today's episode, I sat down with my good friend, Kate Erwin. Kate is a content marketer and social media manager who went from burnt out to laid off to living a flexible freelance life. In our conversation, we talk about balancing body neutrality with maintaining a healthy lifestyle, boundary setting, and mental health and building coping skills for dealing with anxiety. Kate is a very energetic and thoughtful person, and I always get a lot out of our conversations. I hope you get as much as I did from today's chat. Hi, Kate.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So, I wanted to say that I am so excited to be interviewing you because you were there a few years ago when I was first trying to figure things out for myself. I was trying to lose some excess weight and I was trying to figure out why I was having such horrible joint pain and inflammation. And during that time, you and I were co-working at a local coffee shop. They had like their corporate location that they partially turned into a rentable space. And then you graciously allowed me to co-work with you from your home.
I did. I do remember that.
And so that actually allowed us, I think, because we were alone, in your home, allowed us to have some deeper conversations while we were working about life and work and health and anything that was on our mind. So that I really, really appreciated that time with you.
I did too. I loved it. And I did I took note of all your beautiful healthy lunches, and I'm still not there where you are in terms of preparing and making sure that I'm eating like a very balanced diet. But I remember, yeah, you were introducing me to all of these concepts, and also we would go on our lovely little lunch walks, which was
Yes.
fantastic.
Yes.
Fun. You're always welcome to come over, by the way. I know
Thank
that you're
you.
busy, but you're always welcome to come over.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a great time. And one of the conversations that we had was about body neutrality.
Mm.
And I remember you brought this up and I was like, I don't think I even know what she's saying. Like, what is this new trend that I'm unaware of? So let's talk about that today. Explain what that is and what the movement is.
Yeah, so I feel unqualified to speak on behalf of the entire movement. But to me personally, body neutrality is all about kind of taking that power back from all of the stimuli that we get that tells us that our bodies need to be changed, mainly for aesthetic reasons, mainly for very superficial reasons, and really treating our bodies more like the vessels that they are. Like our bodies allow us to do things. They allow us to get up each day and do our work, do our passions, you know uh and kind of focus more on that and like what our bodies can do for us, and less on that kind of like physical appearance. and that those outside voices that maybe say that your body isn't good enough because you are a certain shape or size, and focus more on what your body can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very important message. I think that as soon as you accept yourself for who you are, it opens up a lot of avenues for you. You get rid of all of the weight and the shame that no one needs.
Yeah, it's just not helpful. It's just not helpful because I think, and it's funny, in the wellness industry, a lot of the time, there is this very dangerous messaging used to kind of shame us about our bodies and tell us that our bodies are wrong, and that there's something that needs fixing. And I think that that is so unhelpful in terms of health and in terms of like getting people to a point where they feel comfortable enough in their bodies to actually partake in, exercise and, healthy habits. Because if you enter it from a place of shame, you're not going to get where you want to go at all. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So here's an interesting question that comes up though when we think about it being a movement. Kind of a controversial way to look at this, but do you think that it can actually be harmful for a movement to be telling people it's okay to be obese when doctors are saying actually no, it's not, that obesity is an underlying symptom of greater problems, and it can lead to worse outcomes if you have other conditions? Do you think there's a balance here between those two messages?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the thing that I struggle with is um obese bodies can still be active bodies. And I think that there are a lot of people online showing their obese bodies being active, and the number of people who say like this is promoting obesity, and it's like just by existing in an obese body, that is not necessarily promoting obesity. Just by saying I can live in an obese body and live a life that I want to live is not necessarily promoting obesity. I would also say that that's the difference between that kind of body positivity and body neutrality is we're straying from the idea of like you should love your body no matter what, and just getting to this baseline of saying my body is not wrong for any reason. It's maybe more about the habits that I take on, and we are all starting from somewhere. And I think that, if we shame obese bodies, and I mean, I'm speaking as an obese person, so I think it's also like it's very personal, but speaking as an obese person who is fairly active, I do believe that you have to start where you're starting from, right? So like, for example, like for me, like I'm not gonna go to a HIIT class. I went to a HIIT class once and I got very sick. You've got to start where you're starting. I do a lot of gentle hikes. I do a lot of, kind of like lower key, I would say almost like the kind of fitness classes that maybe your mom would go to. Like that's kind of where I am. But you kind of have to take it from where you are. And yeah, I think there is just a very fine line. But I think a lot of the people who say, I don't think that obesity can really be glorified because the world still hates obese people. Nobody has to worry about that.
Oh man,
Dark,
yeah,
it's dark,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you're right though. I classes that your mom would take. It's you know what? If that's where you're at, that's where you need to start. And I'm a type of person who I absolutely hate classes too.
Hmm.
I don't want to be in that situation. It makes me nervous. I'm an introvert, 100%. And so like the things that I do, like you said, it's walking. It's
Yeah.
it's walking, and it's gentle movement, yoga. And even starting with yoga, you notice when you're just starting out that your body it needs to get used to things. And as you progress, just doing, 5 minutes a day, your body gets a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger. So yeah, definitely you have to start where you're at.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Absolutely. And I think just also just listening to your body and getting in touch with it. And I think that's that's super difficult if you hate your body, right? So I think that's why having that body neutrality and getting to that point mentally is so important, to get to a point where you are listening to your body and you're in touch with it, rather than, trying to suppress whatever your body is feeling.
yeah,
Um
yeah.
yeah.
You can't ignore what's going on. You have to
Yeah.
come out of that stupor almost of like
Yeah.
ignoring your own health, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is awesome stuff. I wanted to also talk to you. You recently have become a freelance content marketer.
I am.
And how's that going?
you know, it's been very difficult to balance uh my mental health and this new venture. And I would say that that's for many reasons. Some of them are the very basic, my insurance is not so great now, which sounds horrible, but that's a very real thing that we live with in America. So before, I was going to my therapist once a week. Now I'm paying for therapy out of pocket, so I'm going a lot less. And then also, just when freelancing, you have to set very firm boundaries with your clients, and you have to keep setting them and resetting them, to make sure that you are essentially like living by standards that you can live with, essentially, like, that you're not creating conflict within yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't be stressing yourself out. That's not why you go into freelance, right?
Correct, correct. The whole point is it's supposed to be something flexible, something that allows me to kind of live my healthiest life, um, and have that balance. I think that so many of us, obsess over work and work is such a part of our identity. And I am trying personally to move away from that and see work as just part of who I am, not the whole of who I am. And yeah, that's very, very challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. So anxiety
Hmm.
tied to this, and also I'm sure other things. Anxiety, I think, is something that it, we may not admit it, but I think a lot more people than we realize are dealing with on a daily basis. What's
Yeah.
your experience with anxiety?
Yeah, so I have generalized anxiety disorder, and I suffer from panic attacks. Thankfully, less so now that I am medicated and that I am in therapy. But I will say that obviously times of immense stress can bring that up. Like, and I think that, always what I'm just trying to do is keep coping at like top of mind. Like, figure out a way to, reduce all of the fears, say them aloud. Whatever you're afraid of, say it aloud, and usually you will show yourself that it is not as scary as what you think. So for example, a few months ago I got laid off, which is what propelled me into full-time freelancing, and I was terrified. There was a lot of anxiety. What if this person doesn't pay me? What if this person fires me? What if this person gets mad at me? And you just have to realize, like, what's the worst thing that could happen if this happens? So yeah, I mean, anxiety is a constant, and I think it's never, I've talked to many therapists about this. It's never gonna stop being an issue. It's just part of life. And really, it's all about how you deal with it and how you cope with it. So I'm working at that every day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in a way, I mean, it's our own egos, our own unconscious that's trying to protect us from
Yeah.
perceived fear, right? And perceived danger. So, yeah, it's never going to go away. And that's why I think, more people, they don't necessarily say, oh, I have an anxiety disorder, but they need coping skills for dealing
Yeah.
with things that bring up those fears. Um, you know, like there's things that you can do. Do you have like specific things that you do, like reminders, like little post-it notes, like keep me in this moment, or breathing exercises?
Breathing for sure. And a lot of it is just, 4 counts in, 4 out. Like it's nothing complicated. It's just like focusing on your breath, or, focusing. There's the one where you count, you pay attention to your senses and things you can see, things you can hear, things, and just grounding you in reality, because a lot of the time, your anxious thoughts are not reality. They're produced by your brain. And this is especially helpful if you ever get into a loop, if you get stuck in like a thought spiral, which happens to me fairly regularly. And it'll happen about the slightest things. I'm just getting over, I had a cold a few weeks ago, and I still have like a little bit of a lingering cough. And so, and with all the fears about COVID, if I cough in public, I get anxious, and I'm like, I get into like a little loop, or I get into like, what if I cough in this moment? And you just have to realize like, hey, this, whatever your fear is probably not going to happen. And again, like my favorite thing to do is just say the fear aloud. And usually you realize that either A, it's not as scary as you anticipate it to be, or B, it is kind of goofy and ridiculous. Like, it's just not realistic at all. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think you may have mentioned this before, but you've done like a gratitude practice in the
I love
past?
my, yeah. So I do a gratitude journal. And just every night I write, just a sentence or two about what I'm grateful for in that day. And see, I coughed. And one of the things that I love about it is that it helps you focus on those positive moments. Obviously, you're gonna have highs and lows in your days. But I think sometimes we have a bad day and we think, oh, this day was terrible. There's nothing good about it. And having to focus on what was good about it makes you realize that there is good in every day, even the worst ones. So yeah, there was a time, and I was writing in a gratitude journal since, I want to say, 2017. So I have documented so much of my life, and there were so many terrible days, and sometimes the gratitude was just I survived. And it sounds really dark, but there's always something. There's, even in the darkest, worst times.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I have a question about nutrition
Oh yeah.
and some of these like more like fundamental things that we can do to promote like a healthy nervous system. Because in a
Mm,
way, I look at least for me, when I'm anxious, it's usually because I've been overstimulated and my nervous system is just completely fatigued. Um, so I kind of look at nutrition these days as that foundational piece where it's something you've got to give yourself as a self-care element.
yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
something that you've ever?
I love it. I will tell you that my diet is not as nutritious as I would like. I do think though that there's something to, hey, have you eaten? Hey, like, or the number of times that I'm anxious and it's like, well, did you have coffee and you didn't have breakfast? That is big. And I wish I could say that I've figured out a way to always be eating the right thing, and not have those moments where I'm like, oh, am I anxious because I'm running on just coffee? Or, did I only have something that was very, sugary today and nothing else? Um, I will say that, like, just making sure that you have those options in your house that are easy. So for me, because I am sometimes working, from when I wake up to when I go to bed, which I'm again not proud of at all, working away from that. But because I am sometimes so like booked up and busy that I forget to eat, or that, I forget to eat and then I order takeout, for example. Um, that is not the life I want to be living. So having those kind of healthy options that are very easy. One of my favorites is just salad with avocado and tomatoes. And that's what I'm gonna have for lunch today. So just making sure that you have those really quick, healthy meals that also feel like a treat. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one of the biggest struggles, honestly, for a lot of people, is just because we're the environment that we're living in now makes it so much more difficult to really fuel ourselves correctly, right? And to give us the things that we need. Like for example, like, we need magnesium, we need zinc, and omega-3 fatty acids. These are some of the like the basics things that we need.
Mhm.
Um, and we just, there we are, super busy, but we're like grabbing a pizza and because it's there, it's super, super easy, but that's
I
not
had a
giving us what we
scone.
need.
I had a
Yeah.
scone for breakfast. And like when I think of it like that, it's like, what would have really fueled me would be like some toast with some lox. And when you were saying omega-3s, I was like, this is why I crave salmon all the time. Because salmon has that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah, this is why I'm always craving that.
that's actually a really good point, because our bodies do tell us what we
Yeah.
need through our cravings. And yeah,
Yeah.
of course it's telling us we need sugar too, but that's, we're hardwired that way.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
it
and
makes it
I mean
difficult.
that's different because yeah, sugar is an addiction and that's like a whole other thing. I don't know if I will ever fully be able to get myself away from sugar. Although I think it's interesting when you have less of it, everything else becomes so much sweeter. And I think that when you were coming over to my house and you were eating really healthy, I remember you would be eating things and I'd say like how can you eat that? That doesn't seem sweet to me. And you were like, oh, this is really sweet to me. Or I'd give you something and you'd say, oh no, that's too sweet. And I'm like, really? Is it? And it's just because you weren't really consuming sugar. Not to get off track, but
Oh, no, that's
yeah,
cool. No, and it's true. The breaking the sugar addiction was a huge thing for me. I mean,
yeah,
that was hard. I remember standing in my kitchen, just like standing there, putting sugar in my coffee, going, I don't know how I'm ever going to break this. I just
yeah,
don't. But, little by little, step by step, and a lot of it was mindset, right?
yeah,
You got to have that peace, I think, when you're talking about making health changes, where you really have your why dialed in. Like, why do I need to make these changes? Why do I need to get healthy?
yeah,
And, for me, I was like, I don't want to go through life in pain.
yeah,
At that time I was like 42, 43,
yeah.
and my husband was telling me, "Oh, you're just getting old, you're going to have to deal with this."
That's not old,
I'm like, "No, that's
especially
not going to
now. People
happen."
are living longer than ever. So what are you supposed to be in pain for the next 30, 40 years?
Yeah, no, I
Like,
was like,
yeah,
absolutely not. No. So,
no, I'm yeah, and I'm glad. And it's funny because I am quote young, but sometimes my body feels like it is not young. And I think that's such a wake-up call, right? Or for me, it's that I get tired a lot. Like I'm constantly tired. I'm sleeping a lot. And so realizing how much of that might be things like diet. Um, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw you an interesting one. So if there was one thing that you wish everyone in the world knew, what
Okay.
would that be?
Oh. Um, that's a really tough one. I think maybe that you can't tell how healthy a person is by looking at them. I think that that is a big one for me. Um, I know a lot of people who have bodies that look like they might be healthy, who have really poor eating habits. Um, I know people, again, who have like really poor mental health. To look at them, you would never know. Um, that people hide a lot. And not only do people hide a lot, um, but I think that there's a lot of judgment about health that is very superficial.
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
totally agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, here's a softball.
Okay.
What are you reading right now?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk about this. I am reading a book, and now I have to find the title. So just give me a moment. But it's all about the idea of work being this kind of all-consuming thing in our culture, and that it's so tied to identity that if people lose their job, it feels like they lose who they are. It's called The Good Enough Job, and it tells the stories of different people in different positions, from a journalist to somebody in tech to a librarian to a religious leader, and basically focuses on this idea of work as this sort of religion that kind of takes control of our lives and essentially teaches us how to put that balance back into our lives and have other aspects of ourselves beyond work.
That sounds amazing.
It's really good. It's really good. How far am I? I'm about halfway through. But yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So, if somebody wanted to find you on social media,
Mm.
where would they find you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my number one spot. Kate Erwin, Erwin. And then you can also find me on TikTok at Sassy Kate, SaaS as in software as a service. So SaaSyKate. And honestly, I'm everywhere else too. I have an Instagram, straight up Kate. That's more of a personal space, but if you want to see what I'm eating, good and bad, I take a lot of food pictures. If you want to see the hikes I'm doing, that's there too. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for chatting with me today.
Oh,
It was
anytime.
amazing.
Anytime. It's my favorite.
Hey there, it's Cheryl. I'm jumping in here to quickly talk to you about food, stress eating, and plain old overeating. I talk a lot about how our environment is obesogenic and it's stacked against us, where the grocery stores are packed with junk and our lives are overscheduled. So it's not a surprise, probably, to you that learning how to overcome these challenges has been one of my biggest opportunities for growth. I spent years reading tips and tricks from reputable sources, but nothing seemed to stick. There was a time when I thought the endless cycle of stress induced cravings for sugar and crunchy snacks would never end. But when I broke down all of the advice I was hearing into three essential categories, I ended up building myself a system. It helped me remember how to handle each of my more difficult moments with food. And if you're interested, I'd like you to have it for free. There's a link in the show notes where you can opt in to receive my quick start guide called Escape the Emotional Eating Maze: Three Keys That Unlock the Path to a Mindful Relationship with Food. If this resonates with you, please don't waste another minute of your life feeling like you're out of control when it comes to your food. Download the guide today and let's navigate this path to a healthier, happier you together. So, in today's episode, you hear me say that I absolutely hate taking classes because they make me nervous. I'm an introvert. Well, shortly after recording this episode, I realized that this was just a story I'd been telling myself for my entire life. And after seeing an ad for a yoga and meditation class near me that's taught in a beautiful historic mansion, I decided it was time for me to have those 20 seconds of courage. So I signed up and have been going for several weeks. Now, the best part about this class is the people were so welcoming when I came to that class. It's amazing the people that you meet when you go to a yoga and meditation class. So I want to encourage you, if there's something that you've been wanting to do for a long time, but you've been telling yourself that it's just not your thing, challenge yourself on that. Ask yourself why you think that and maybe tell yourself a different story. Now, Kate and I covered a lot of different topics in our conversation. So instead of giving you a recap of several different takeaways, I wanted to leave you with two questions to mull over. Number one, have you fully accepted yourself, or are you still living with some level of shame? And number two, we know that stress and anxiety are not likely to go away anytime soon. So, what are you doing to cope? Is it breath work? Is it focusing on the senses, journaling, or some other tool that helps you live well in our chaotic world? Thank you for listening in today. If you'd like to share your answers to these questions, You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. You can also find more information about today's topics and our guest at wellnessinachaoticworld.com. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the podcast so that every Tuesday we can keep this conversation going. Until next time, have a happy, healthy week, everyone. If today's episode resonated with you, our private Facebook group is a great place to dive deeper, ask questions, and share wins with people who understand. It's free, it's private, and you can join by clicking the link in the episode description. I hope to see you there.